The hula hoops that I use, and you should use too. You use whatever hoop you like, of course. It's just that I think this video is going to help you understand a lot about which hoop is the best for you to learn hula hoop moves with. Almost on a daily basis, I get asked about what hula hoop I'm using in a certain video, and I get asked to send a link so people can buy that very same hula hoop. I would like to clarify, I'm not using any AI or smart hula hoops that already have the tricks built, downloaded, installed inside. So I actually had to train and learn the hula hoop moves. None of these hula hoops will help you perform hula hoop tricks if you don't do the training. First of all, the quickest one to get out of the way is these weighted heavy hula hoops. People keep asking me if I use these. I don't. I never would use them. I think they are dangerous. I don't want to get injured, so I never use these. I only bought this one so I can show them in my videos because people keep asking about these. So no, I never ever use weighted hula hoops. If you look at not just one video, but a couple of them, you will see that I actually use a whole different kinds of hula hoops. And when people ask me about which one I use, and I say that I use many different kinds, people get furious with me. I'm just being honest and I'm trying to be helpful. So here I'm going to explain myself because usually everyone says, "Explain yourself, B Varga." So here's the explanation. This could be very helpful, especially if you're hooping to get into shape and if you're trying to learn different moves to improve your balance, to get stronger, to boost your flexibility. Let's get this out of the way. This will be the shortest story. The wooden hula hoops, I love these, but I do not recommend them for beginners, and I wouldn't have survived with these wooden hula hoops when I started. Wooden hula hoops are very firm, so you need to know what you're doing. You need to have good muscle memory so that you only get the hoop beat you up in the places where your connective tissue is already trained. What does that even mean, right? If you've been learning different hula hoop moves, you probably discovered that sometimes you get some bruising, even if you use a plastic hula hoop. That is because hula hooping trains your connective tissue, so it helps to make your skin look more toned. It applies pressure, it stimulates, it massages your skin. Initially, if your skin is very soft and unfit, you get bruises. But if you don't give up and you keep training, what you discover is that your connective tissue gets very fit and you don't get those bruises anymore. And if you've been hula hooping for a long time, you can increase that fitness of your connective tissue with something that's firmer. Wooden hula hoops are very firm, so if you're not a beginner anymore and your connective tissue is very much used to being beaten up by a plastic hoop, I would use a wooden hoop. These are my favorites because I was pregnant, so if you've ever had a baby that you actually have grown in your own body, you probably know that it does stretch you out and it does not improve the look of the skin. So for me to tone my skin after having been pregnant, and also because I'm in my 40s, so my skin is aging. Aging normally reduces skin elasticity unless you're a celebrity or a vampire, because you just keep looking younger and younger. But if you're an organic, natural human being like me, then your skin does show some signs of aging. And instead of getting any treatment, special solutions, weird monkey beans and interventions, I just hula hoop with a firm hula hoop. But this I definitely do not recommend for beginners. It's something I would maybe aim towards later on. I will be plastering details of the hula hoops that I use on the side so that you can see, because all the time people ask me to measure inside diameter, outside diameter, put it on the scales for them and do all sorts of things. So if you're interested in that sort of detail, you can take screenshots, but I wouldn't worry about it and I wouldn't sweat the details. Then let's move on to my plastic hula hoops. I use many different kinds of those. You will see why. I carry on explaining myself and I do not mean to be frustrating, so please do not get angry with me. Plastic hoops are brilliant for beginners, and I started off with plastic as well. I used HDPE 40-inch hula hoop when I started hooping, and for beginners it's easier if a hoop has a larger diameter and it's a bit heavier. When I started off, my hula hoop was a naked hula hoop because I had no clue what I was doing, but what I got right was the diameter. It was very large and that made it easier for me to learn on-body moves. No one actually said that I should use different sizes, and it took me quite a while to figure out that I would benefit from using different kinds of hula hoops, because when we're learning foot hooping or hand hooping, a large hoop is terrifying and it smacks you real hard. And still to this day, whenever I'm learning something that's new to me, that's an on-body move, I would reach out for something bigger with a larger diameter. The reason for that is the bigger a hula hoop is, the slower it spins around you, so it gives you a little bit more time to not just feel what is happening, but also to respond to the movement of the hula hoop. So you learn that move quicker. Over the years, as I got fitter and more skilled with my hula hoop, from the 40-inch hula hoop that I started off with, I started going smaller and smaller. And I reached a point when I reached 32 inches, and that's pretty much what I've been using for the last 10, 15 years. This is when people like to be very anal and ask, is it inside or outside diameter? And it really makes them angry when I say, I don't know. Because if I'm honest, my hoops are around 32 inches, but some of them are a little bit bigger and some of them are a little bit smaller. So some of them are 32 in the inside, some of them in the outside, some of them are actually 34 and some 31. So I do not want to make anyone angry, but I don't just use one hula hoop, and the reason for that is because I'm learning and discovering and inventing hula hoop moves. So sometimes when a move is completely new to me and I need time to figure things out and I'm not that good at it, I still, to this day, after 17 years of hula hooping, I still reach out for a bigger hoop, and then if I'm good at that move with a big hoop, then I reach out for a smaller one. People love to ask me about travel hula hoops as well, and here I would like to point out, I never had any of those collapsible travel hula hoops. I traveled a lot for performing on stage as an entertainer and professional hula hooper, but the entertainment agency always paid for my hula hoops, all of them, to fly with me as a set, as sporting goods. So I packed all my hula hoops and I never had to worry about collapsing any. If, however, an entertainment agency wasn't paying for it because I wasn't traveling for a show, I will be honest, I never bothered packing a hula hoop. Usually what I've done is I was flying without a hoop, then wherever I went into the garden center or pound store or euro store, dollar store, whatever you like to call it, and I would buy something like a cheap toy shop hula hoop. That's why I actually have a lot of these, because what I discovered is some of them actually are very good at collapsing. This hula hoop I bought for about 40p about 15 years ago in the UK, and check this out. You can pull it apart. You can pull it apart. And this is such amazing flexible material. It doesn't crack. Like if you would do this to a polypro hula hoop, that's it, dead. So basically I could just squeeze it into even a handbag if I wanted to. Of course I bought a couple of these, push it together and that's it, ready to spin. Hula hoopers like to argue about HDPE or PE hula hoop. I'm not fussy about that, so I'm not going to argue. I don't care personally. You can, if you want, research it, become very knowledgeable and very picky about it. I don't personally have a preference. PE or HDPE, for me that's just as good, and I use 20mm thickness. And as I said, the diameter is about roughly 32 inches, more or less. That would be like an all-purpose hula hoop. But this, for example, was just a cheap toy shop hula hoop that I picked up, again, in some sort of a euro or dollar store kind of place. It's actually bigger than 32 inches. It's very light and it breaks very easily. You can't pull it apart, but for some of the moves, it's pretty awesome. I actually have sets of these kind of hoops. So if I found some sort of a cheap toy shop hoop that was really practical or comfortable, or it was nice for some reason, I would actually buy a few of them. Some of the hoops I actually taped. As you can see, this has tape on it, but some of them I never taped.
Look at this one. It's naked.
The reason for that is I recommend that you have hoops that are taped so that they make your learning easier. They grip better so they don't slide and don't drop that easily. They are easier to learn with. But if you're using a space where you're not really supposed to be leaving marks on the floor and ceiling and walls, then it's good to have something that has no tape on it, because if your hula hoop is naked, it's not going to be marking the walls. But if the hoop is naked, it also slides and drops easier, so you have to be more skilled with a naked hoop. For fire hooping, I just use my regular 32-inch HDPE hoops. I just have these Kevlars that you can put on and take it off. These poop bags I fit on my Kevlars because otherwise I would cover the space in soot indoors when I'm practicing, and I do not want to make the whole place very messy and dirty and sooty. So I use these poop bags that you use when you walk your dogs. This keeps my space nice and clean, but I can have some indoor dry practice. These have screws so you can take them off and put them on. These were actually made for me locally by an old man who has got nothing to do with hula hooping but has a welding machine. So this was handmade. Most of my hula hoops are handmade for me. Sometimes you see me with some light up hula hoops, LED hoops. I used to have more of them for performing, but I sold them when I became a mum because I was alone with a newborn and I had no money. Since then I bought this very, very cheap one from Etsy. I don't quite recommend it. It's not great, but I thought that I'd give it a try because why not? It's affordable. This one is a Poly Pro. Then I have this nicer one. I put the details here. This is what you will see me using in most of my shorts. This I really, really like. But as you can see, the difference is quite significant, and I hula hoop with all of the different sizes quite happily. This is where I would like to talk about the different sizes. Why is it that I use different sizes, and I recommend that maybe you should consider also. So it doesn't matter if it's an LED hoop, wooden hoop, plastic, fire, metal, or whatever hula hoop that you're using. If it's smaller, of course it fits into smaller spaces. So if you have small space available, that can be a good reason to want to use a small hula hoop. But also if you're using it around your hands, arms, feet, legs, very often it's very helpful to use a smaller hula hoop. But if you're using it for learning moves on your body, like shoulders or hips, it does help if the diameter is bigger, because the hoop will spin around you slower and it gives you more time. When I'm inventing new moves, learning new things, I try all the different hula hoops. So do not take my word for it that if I decide for you that it's easier with a smaller one, you should use a smaller one. No, you should try. Don't take anyone's word for it. Try it, experience it, and you decide for your height, for your fitness level, which hoop is easier. I recommend that you start off with the new move with the easier hula hoop so that you're more likely to be victorious. You figure it out, you learn it. Once it's easy for you to do it with your easier hula hoop, then move on to something that makes it a bit harder. This is how you do progressive overload. Start off with something that's lower intensity that makes it easy for you to execute a move, and gradually you work towards that hula hoop that it makes it harder and makes it more challenging for you to do it. If you keep trying and training, you will find that even the hoop that may have felt hopeless in the beginning will feel easy by the end. Over the years, I've been teaching many people, and they make that decision that they just want to use one kind of hula hoop. They refuse to try anything else. All I can say, good luck, enjoy. So if you're very stubborn and you are not open-minded enough to give another hula hoop a try, for any reason, I respect that. But to reduce frustration, I like to change hula hoops, and at the end my goal is to be able to do all of my moves with the one kind of hula hoop. When someone, let's say, tries to learn shoulder hooping and they're really struggling and frustrated, and they come to me and they ask for my advice, and I say, maybe you should try a bigger hula hoop because that will make it easier. And then they say no, they don't want to try anything different. Of course, the frustration will last a little bit longer. I'm very sorry about that. I cannot help. But when people are not open-minded enough to try a move with a hoop that makes it easier, it's a bit like wanting to sprint before we can walk. Because shoulder hooping, for example, requires quite some skill. So when you're using a large hula hoop, it's like walking. You're learning to walk. You're learning to do it slowly, giving yourself time. But if you refuse to try a larger diameter hoop and you want to keep going with the tiny one, it's like if you can't even walk yet, because you can't even yet do it with a big hoop, but you already want to sprint, do it very fast with a tiny hula hoop. So I'm not trying to be frustrating or annoying. I just admit here in front of everyone that I cheat and I choose a hoop that is bigger for on-body moves because that's slower, and I would like to learn to walk first before I sprint. Once I can walk, then I want to sprint also. Very gradually, I move on to hoops that make it slightly more challenging. I hope this video was helpful and not too confusing. I'm not too frustrating. I don't want to come across like if I wanted to inspire you to now buy a whole bunch of hula hoops.
I paid with my own hard-earned money for every single one of my hula hoops. No one gave me a free hula hoop, and I've not been sponsored. I do not receive any commission, whatever you buy. These are my hula hoops, and you decide what you want and what you get or not get. So I'm not wanting to talk you into any of this. I'm just trying to help. Use the information if you find it helpful.
But if this is now a passion of yours and you're keen to get fit, improve your balance, your flexibility, your strength with hula hooping, then, there will be always a birthday coming up and Christmas and all that stuff. So you could just treat yourself to a different hula hoop to help your learning process. Don't ever feel guilty about a hula hoop collection. Other people collect designer shoes or handbags. If you have a hula hoop collection, at least that's how many different ways you're using your body and your learning a new skill. Very well done, you're amazing already for researching, being open-minded, and please never worry about the size, the weight or the material of your hula hoop. Use what you've got, enjoy it, and whenever there's an opportunity, keep your eyes open and treat yourself. Have a wonderful time discovering how amazing your body is and all the wonderful things you can achieve just playing, having fun with a hula hoop. Mwah!